Hey guys, I wanted to go over this ordering rational numbers Desmos that we did in class. This was pretty tough for many of you guys, so I wanted to make sure I went over this. You can follow along and kind of see how I'm ordering these numbers. Okay, so like we talked about in class, it's very difficult to think about fractions, decimals, and percents and numbers in scientific notation and compare them the way that they are. We want to think of them all in the same way, the same type of number. Okay, so my recommendation is always to change them all to decimals or think about it in the form of a decimal, whole number and some decimal place. And for this assignment, we're looking at number lines that are in decimal form. The number lines don't have percentages or fractions on them. Okay, so for this very first one, slide 2, move point A to 3.5. That's really simple for us to do because the number line is already set up that way. So we're going to put A to 3.5, which is 5 ticks over. B, on the other hand, is a mixed number. It's a whole number and a fraction, 2 and 2/5. So I do know that B is going to be at least past this whole number 2, but we need to know what 2/5 is to move this, to know how far to move that point over. There are a few ways you can think about this. 2/5. Well, there are 10 tick marks in between. Okay, so if we have 10 in between, how do I get from 5 to 10? We multiply it times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So we're actually going to move this up 4 tenths. Okay, another way that you might know that is a fifth is a benchmark fraction. Okay, so we should know that a fifth, 1/5, is the same thing as 20%. That's just one that we really want to make sure you remember because it makes things a lot easier if you know that a fifth is 20%. So fifths go by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, that's one whole, or 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%, or 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1 whole. Okay, so fifth goes by 20%, or if you knew that, it was 0.2, right, 20%, same thing as 0.2, then you know that 2/5 is double that. So 0.2, 0.4. So we're going to move this up 4 tick marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, C, 170%. So 170%, again, is not the same thing as 170. Okay, this is a percentage. So a few things we could do. Percent, we're going to move the decimal place over to the left 2 jumps, 1, 2. So 170% is the same thing as 1.7. Or you can think 100% is 1 whole. So 170% is 1.7. Okay, let's keep going. Number line 2. Okay, move the points. Again, we're just moving these points. A, 4/5. Again, those fifths. A fifth is 20%. Count by twos. We want 4 of them. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 80%. Or maybe you will know that's the same thing as 0.8. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move A to 80, which is right here. Okay, we also know that 4/5 is less than 1 whole, so it should be underneath the 1. All right, 3/2. That is a improper fraction because its numerator is larger than the denominator, but if I have 3/2, that's the same thing as 1.5. Okay, how do I get that? How many times can 2 go into 3? 1 full time, and then I have 1 left over. That's the size of a half. Okay, so 1.5. But if you didn't know that, maybe you would have to use long division and figure out that that is 1.5. Or if you want to draw a picture, you have 3/2. Let me draw you a quick picture. Oh, oh my goodness. I can draw a better circle. Okay, so you have a half. You have another half. You have another half. Let's pretend like those pizzas are the same size. Okay, so if we had 3/2, well, we could put this piece over here and make a whole. So you have 1 whole and then a half, right? So that's 1.5. So let's drag B to 1.5. C is 45.5%. Percent to decimal. You got to move the decimal place over 2 jumps to the left. So this is the same thing as 0.455. So very close to 0.5, which is a half. So C is going to be, let me move D out of the way, 0.4, and then a half. Okay. And then D is 100%. 100% is the same thing as 1 whole. Line number 3. 3 shouldn't be any issues. These are all already in decimals, so we should be able to just drag these to the points. A is 2.4, so go up whole 2, and then 0.4, 0.1, 2, 3, 4. B is 3.7, so 3 and 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/10. C is 1.5, so 1.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move the points. All right, so now we have some more fractions, decimal percents. I'm going to scooch these. Well, that's okay. All right, A is 3/4. That's less than 1 whole, right? Because that's a true fraction. That's a proper fraction. 3/4. Another benchmark fraction, we really want to know our fourths. Our fourths is the same thing as a quarter. If you cut something like that, 4 pieces, right? We have 1/4. That's a quarter. 1/4 is worth 25 cents or 0.25. So 3/4 is worth 75 cents or 0.75. It's not going to be a whole number 75. We don't have $75. We have 75 cents. Okay, so let's see. A is going to 7/10, 7.5. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. Okay. All right. 8/5. Those are our fifths. So if we have 8/5, fifths go by 2. Or you can think, you know what? Let's do this first. 8/5, that's an improper fraction. How many times can 5 go into 8? 1 whole time. So we know it's going to be 1 whole, right? We have 8. There's 1 set of 5. We have 3 left over. So it's going to be 1 3/5. So we know that B is going to be past 1 whole and then 3/5 more. Fifths go by 5. Fifths go by 2, 20%. So 2, 4, 6, that's 60% or 0.6. So we got to go up 6/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0.5. C is at a half. D is at 175%. 100% is 1 whole, and then 75. That's the same thing like 3/4. Okay. Or we know that to change a percent to a decimal, you move the decimal place over 2 times. So it's 1.75. Move the points on the clothesline so they're ordered from least to greatest. This is important to know. Least to greatest. It doesn't matter where on the number line. They just have to be in the right order. The first thing that catches my attention is that I've got 2 percentages right here. So these are really easy to order. I know 20.5% is less than 46%. Now we got to think about where these whole numbers go. 4.6. Okay, remember 100% is 1 whole. So 4 whole is 400%. This is actually 460%. If you want to change this decimal to a percent, we have to move the decimal place over to the right 2 times and fill in this gap with a 0. So this is 460%, or you can reason like I did, 4 whole, 400. Okay, so that's way over here. That's much greater than these 2 percentages. And then we have 7/4. 7/4 is a improper fraction. You have 7 quarters. Okay, how many times can 4 go into 7? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1 whole time, and then you have 3/4 left over. So 7/4 is the same thing as 1 whole, and 3/4, 3/4, 75 cents again. So that's the same thing again as 1.75. So where does that fit in? 1.75 is less than 4 whole, but it is still greater than these percentages because these percentages aren't even 1 whole. So that's your order. Good thing about these videos is that you can pause at any time. If something didn't make sense or I said something too quickly, you can go back and watch it again. All right, clothesline number 2. Again, we have these percentages that are easy to go ahead and sort. 3.7 is smaller than 26%. 6 halves. 6 halves is an easy one because, recap, this fraction bar means division. It looks like a division sign, right? I just replaced those numbers with 2 dots. There you have your division sign. What's 6 divided by 2? A whole number 3. Now, we couldn't do this with our last one, 7/4, because 7 can't be divided by 4 evenly. So that's why we know that there was some sort of fraction or decimal. But this one does divide evenly. That's 3 whole. So we know that's going to be greater than these percentages because percentages are less than 1 if it's below 100%. And then 2.6, still greater than our percentages, but not as big as 3. One more. Okay. Again, got these percentages. I'm going to go and put them there. Let me drag these guys out of the way first. 15.5%, definitely less than 225%. Now, 225%, 100% is 1 whole. 200% is 2 whole. Okay, so this is going to be 2.25. Here, I can write this down for you just in case so you can see. To change a percent to a decimal, we got to move the decimal place over twice. So this is 2.25, which is greater than 1.06. Okay, so not a whole, 1 whole, 2 whole. Okay, 5 halves. What is 5 halves? 5 can't go into 2 evenly, so it's not going to be a perfect division problem. But we can have 2 groups of 2 can come out of 5, right? There's 1, there's 2, so we have 2 wholes. And then we have 1 piece left over. Whoops. If you're not good at going that way, you can always check your work by doing the around the world. Remember this? 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Denominator stays the same. So that's 2.5. Where does 2.5 go? 2.5 is bigger than 2.25. That's 2.5. This is 2.25. Okay. All right, now this last one, we have a number in scientific notation. 5 times 10 to the negative second. This -2 exponent tells me that it's going to be a pretty small number. We're moving the decimal 2 jumps to the left. Okay, for our whole number 5, this is where our decimal is. We have to move it 2 times. 1, 2, and then we can fill in this gap with a 0. So 0.05, 0.05, which is smaller than 15.5%. 15.5%, if we move the decimal over to change it to a decimal, this is 0.155. This is 0.05. Okay, so this one is going to be at the end. Okay, hope that helps.